Jaime is traveling from his home base of Dallas, Texas, to attend a business event in Washington, D.C. To get there, he'll book a flight with Brex Travel by going to the Trips tab of his Brex dashboard. On this page, he can book different types of accommodations, including hotels, cars, and rail transport. However, he only needs to book a flight today, so he leaves that selected. While not necessary for this trip, Jaime also makes note that if he needs to, he could book a trip for a guest in the future, or choose to book a one-way or multi-city trip. He moves on to select the airport which he'll fly out of and the one where he'll land. His trip occurs in early February 2025, so he chooses a start date and end date, which will get him to his destination at the right time. The Book With dropdown lets Jaime choose which of his spend limits he wants to use to cover the cost of his travel. Some of his limits are grayed out because their settings don't allow for travel spending. He can't continue with the booking process until he chooses a spend limit, so he selects the one allotted for his flight. If none of his existing spend limits are applicable, he can request one by clicking Request a Spend Limit. Jaime is brought to a new page where Brex Travel has generated possible departing flight options. This includes options with many common airlines, which Jaime can choose between based on his own preferences. If he has questions about a specific option, he can click on the line item to expand the flight details, which will tell him more about the seat selection, the flight alteration policies, his baggage options, and more. After carefully considering all of his choices, Jaime decides to book based on affordability and chooses a flight which Brex Travel has listed as one of the cheapest flight options. He's now asked to repeat this process for his returning flight, which he also chooses based on the cost. Jaime is taken to the checkout page, where he sees all the details of his chosen flights. He knows that it's important that the personal information he enters matches the information on his government-issued ID when it comes time to board the flight, so he scrolls down to the traveler details section to make sure everything is entered correctly. He could add more specifics here, such as a suffix, but since everything with an asterisk is filled out correctly, he's satisfied. Jaime doesn't have a loyalty program with this chosen airline, but if he did, he could enter his info and program number under Loyalty Program. He could also select a specific seat on the aircraft, but he doesn't have a preference, so he skips that section and clicks Next. On the final checkout page, Jaime is given one last chance to look over his booking preference. He can also see the total cost of his booking on the right-hand side, broken down by the cost of the flight, the cost of fees and taxes, and the cost of service fees. Everything looks good to Jaime, so he clicks Book Flight.